Canadian farming and connection with India. I was supposed to address a hall full of crowd in India come this December on glyphosate, but I'm not sure if I can make it in India in time. So I cancelled my talk and asked them to select another speaker. They decided to change the subject slightly to food security or agrarian crisis, on which there are more people available to speak. Meanwhile, a natural farming promoting organization requested me for an article on glyphosate for their coming issue, which they publish 4 times a year. They had once arranged for me to travel to Delhi for a similar subject 4 years ago to speak in Gandhi Foundation Hall in New Delhi. This writing that they requested now is to be in Bengali language and can have images and charts, etc., and cover similar data that I covered by speech that day in Delhi in English. But it has to be abridged greatly to a few pages. The talk in Delhi covered more than 1 hour. I agreed and got back to the details of what I spoke that day and what, if anything, can be added that has happened in the last 4 years. Well, a heck of a lot has happened in the world and also in India. But all that takes the focus away from glyphosate, the silent hidden menace facing mankind and the planet. There is Ukraine, there is Palestine, there is climate change and incremental decline of Western influence on global affairs, to name just a few. But on glyphosate, well, there is no mainstream news. It is kept under the radar. But for me, the new diplomatic spat between India and Canada gives me something to write about regarding glyphosate. India had been importing some amount of foods from other countries because it is cheaper than Indian small farmer grown local foods. But these imported seed crops are usually far more toxic than local food or locally produced crop. Meanwhile, Canada was hoping for a free trade agreement with India in order to increase its food export there, primarily pulses and pulses and peas. This seems to have hit a break. This effort seems to have hit a break due to the recent spat, diplomatic spat. That should be good news for Indian people. I dislike India's obsession with Western corporate-driven chemical-dependent agrarian technology, as well as importing or growing chemical-dependent agriculture and food in the name of modernity using corporate-produced pseudoscience that increase illness in people, something that Big Pharma also loves. In fact, I had achieved some local success in India in the past on getting this issue of Canadian lentil to the Indian Parliament through a helpful MP of the state of Odisha in India who had taken notes from my presentation. The MP then raised these issues in the Indian Parliament of glyphosate poisoning of Indians through imported Canadian lentils. That rattled the Food Ministry enough, so the government of India started testing glyphosate content on all foods imported from Canada for the time being. Canadian farmer has mostly gone extinct. They have been replaced by contracted peddlers of chemical poisons in agriculture for corporate profit backed by fake science. Canada and USA, in my opinion, have abandoned true agriculture, and much of the rest of the world, but not all, are hypnotized by the West's apparent progress and are trying to ape that agriculture nightmare, trying to ape that Western agriculture nightmare. So my writing could could be for Indians to rise up again in favor of locally grown food and reject imported lentils, especially from countries like Canada. If it is more expensive, so be it. You buy less number of junk gadgets and spend that money on good food. But what about Canadian people and the freedom-loving protesters in Canada, Well, they have some unfortunate choice before them. Number one is grow their own food. Grow your own food and stay away from corporate food. Or two, leave Canada and live someplace else. Or three, topple the government of Canada if you can, instead of wasting time with irrelevant things. Or four, if you can't do anything, then be resigned to a fate of increasing child autism and ill health, birth defects, and chronic illness and slow death in your adult life. These are the four choices left in your hand. This is the topic that I am thinking of writing in Bengali in a few pages. I am Tony Mitra, and this is my opinion on Saturday, 21st October 2023. Thank you.